Hello and welcome to the latest quarterly updates for SAP Analytics Cloud. My name's Hannah Jackson and I'm joined by a familiar face, Orla Cullen of SAP. So Orla, what can we look forward to seeing today?
Thanks Hannah, and hello everybody. Today we'll be featuring the top 5 updates that have been selected from a list of over 40 enhancements that will be available this quarter. As you can see, they cover a wide range of topics and are of interest to both designers and business users.
Okay, sounds great. Let's get straight to the first of our featured updates, custom widget data binding capability. Now, Orla, we know that SAP Analytics Cloud comes with lots of different charts and visualizations out of the box. But what happens when a designer needs to build or customize something for a very specific business need?
Well, the custom widget framework within Analytics Designer allows designers to create their own custom widgets. This is really useful if you need a specific user interface element, for example, a particular visualization of data, or a certain functionality in your analytical application that isn't provided by the predefined set of widgets.
Now, the custom widget framework has been around for some time, of course, so what's new for designers in this quarter?
In this release, we're making designing analytical applications even easier by bringing you a new feature to simplify the binding of data to your custom widget. This means application designers no longer need to use hidden tables to bind data to their custom widget, as they can now do it via the Builder panel.
Sounds very interesting. Okay, shall we take a look at the new feature in action?
The first thing to note is that this feature is only available when working in the optimized view mode. The designer simply selects the custom widget they're interested in, and then uses the navigation panel to choose the model they wish to bind and select dimensions and measures as necessary. Lastly, we can view our analytical application with our customer bar chart, where we can zoom in and zoom out, and also our pie chart, which shows the name of the segment we've selected in the center of the chart.
Thanks, Orla. Now let's move on to our second update for designers, Optimized Story Designer. Performance is something that is super important to our customers. In the past year, there's been a big focus on optimizing the experience and performance for users consuming SAP Analytics Cloud stories. But what about our story and application designers?
Well, you're quite right there, Hannah. The recent focus has mainly been on the view experience. But in this quarter, we're introducing Optimized Design Experience to provide a better experience for IT and analysts when they're designing large or complex stories.
Okay, so what new features can designers expect?
Designers can expect several features previously seen in optimized view mode, such as ghost loading indicators, undo redo, and improved hierarchy navigation. We've also included some additional features such as new builder panel and object list, and a seamless transition between edit and view mode. Let's see it in action. So I start by creating a new story from a blank canvas. I'm prompted to select the design experience I'm interested in, classic or the new optimized design experience. First, I create a chart, and then I select the model I'd like to use in my story. One of the first things you'll notice in the build panel is that we've consolidated all the chart types under a single drop-down. And when I go to add a measure, you'll see that we've redesigned the drop-down menu to make it easier to create new calculations and measure input controls. We've also made the drop-down a lot wider, so it's easy for you to find the measure you're looking for. Here I choose headcount, and I can see the ghost loading in my chart. We've also introduced the available objects list. This not only exposes all the measures, measure input controls, and calculations that we have associated with your data model, but also all your dimensions. So in this case, if I want to add career level, the More Actions menu, or I can simply drag and drop onto the Builder panel. A much requested feature is undo redo. So if I accidentally delete my chart, I now have the option to use the undo redo button to return to the previous state. You can also convert existing stories into the new optimized design mode. I simply open my story in edit mode, select file, and convert to optimized design mode. As this is a new feature that may not do everything you want, we will create a copy of your story, should you wish to revert to the classic design experience.
Thanks, Orla. Now let's take a look at our third update, Flexible Time. Having different time dimensions and granularity can make managing planning difficult. In retail, for example, weekly time is predominantly used in stores, while financial planning also uses special periods at the start or end of the fiscal year. So how are we helping these different departments work together?
So a really exciting development within the planning this quarter is our new flexible time feature, which enables both system and user managed time.
And what's the difference between the two?
While System Managed Time enables support for weekly patterns, so for example, the 53rd week in retail, and the option to mix weekly patterns with other time granularities. However, User Managed Time allows users to configure special periods, create custom attributes, and add hierarchies. This can be especially useful in retail scenarios and also supports advanced time scenarios.
Sounds really, really useful. And let's take a look at flexible time in action.
Here's our new model, and we can see our date dimensions. If we want to configure flexible time, we can do this through the model preferences. Here we have a toggle where we can see our weekly pattern, and there are also conditions for where we want to start our calendar year. In retail, this is typically in February. Here we see our data updated with our fiscal week, and now we can convert this to user-managed time. For financial planning, we can select which hierarchy we want to use, for example, to display special periods or not. And with user-managed time, we can add additional attributes such as days in the week, days the stores are open, as well as comparative sales. As you can see, this is pretty simple. We have our data dimension and we can add our attributes. We can also transfer data between two different models. So I'm transferring a model created at periodic level, like a financial model, to a model with store level details. We've also added the ability to configure your copy rules to be set on the first or the last day of the period. So here, our 330 for period 1 has been allocated to the last day of each week. Conversely, we can take out the weekly model and perhaps transfer it back to our corporate, where it is aggregated into our periodic plan.
Okay, let's stay with planning for our next quarterly update. Ola, what else can our planning users expect to see this quarter?
So in keeping with our theme this quarter of optimizing performance and the overall user experience, we're introducing a new data entry mode called Fluid Data Entry.
And how does this differ to the existing entry modes we have today?
So today we have 3 modes of entry: standard data entry, mass data entry, and now fluid data entry.
Okay, can you show me the differences between them?
Sure, let's see them in action. In single data entry, I can update a cell and the data is sent to the server for recalculation. It then updates all the widgets on the page. It's slow to enter multiple cells in sequence, but I still have the ability to interact with the widgets on the page. With mass data entry, I can quickly enter multiple cells in sequence without any time lag. However, I lose interactivity with my widgets and I have to either process the data or exit the mass data entry mode to interact with my story. With fluid data entry, we get the best of both worlds. Fluid data entry allows me to enter my data in sequence and will wait for me to pause before it does the recalculation. But I still retain the interactive capabilities, such as right-clicking or drilling into my tables. Also, when I bring up the change history, you can see that it's been batched, very much like you'd see in mass data entry mode. So I can revert changes since the last update. And note, the optimized presentation is enabled for the table to see the fluid data entry option.
That brings us to the 5th and final featured update, and one that is much requested and anticipated by our customers. We began today talking about building analytical applications with Analytics Designer. But one gap our customers have identified is support of analytical applications on our mobile app for Android devices. Ola, what can you tell us?
Well, I'm delighted to tell you that we have now closed that gap. Users can now use their analytical application on their Android devices. The scope of the Android support is much like what you would expect in an iOS device today. The mobile application shown here is released with sample content. Customers can take this sample content as an example or starting point for implementing mobile applications with Analytics Designer. That means users can now interact conveniently on the go with all of the advanced features we can build into an analytical application on their Android devices.
Sounds like we're going to have a lot of happy customers. Well, that brings us to the end of this quarter's featured updates for SAP Analytics Cloud. My thanks to Ola for joining us today.
And thanks for having me, Hannah.
Lovely. And thanks to all of you for watching. Don't forget to check out the video description for links to more information about this quarter's updates. Also remember to leave a like and subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay up to date on everything SAP Analytics Cloud. Thanks again from both of us and see you next time.